one of my best friends came over to me and said, Timmy just said she doesn't want to be a friend because you're black. That made me get mad and go walk out of class sometimes. And I would just go out of school and stuff.
So this is the behavior I was talking about. She would get punished for leaving class when class was an environment where kids were calling her out for the color of her skin.
Niara is the second of Stephanie Poole's 3 adopted children. The family lives in Seattle, Washington State. Stephanie teaches 4th grade at a suburban public school. Motherhood has taught her some hard lessons about how race can influence people's perceptions of a student's behavior or academic performance. She knows because she's seen it before with her son.
Yeah, Carter's already internalized that and said, I don't want to be black. And that's a horrible thing to hear your son say, that he doesn't want to be who he is, you know. By the end of kindergarten, they wanted to qualify him for social emotional, for special ed also.
Like Niara, Carter has an attention deficit disorder and trauma-related problems. A school district psychiatrist evaluated him and said he had tendencies to be violent, aggressive, and disruptive. Stephanie insisted those labels be removed from her son's specialized education plan.
I went right to the special ed department and said, I want these taken off, because this is literally the school to prison pipeline where we're talking about how can you list these descriptors of violent for a 6-year-old boy.
Nicholas Zill is a research psychologist in Washington. He's the co-author of a study for the University of Virginia's Institute for Family Studies that focuses on the academic performance of adopted children. There's extensive research on the subject. It shows adopted children are more likely to have learning and behavioral issues than other students.
The thing that's striking is that with many, a large minority and even a majority of adopted children often have behavioral issues in the classroom, and they have some difficulty getting along with other children at a higher rate than biological children do. And that was consistent finding that we had in our research studies.
Studies also reveal that children adopted as babies are less likely to exhibit problems than those adopted as older kids. Some adopted children face another complication.
Generally speaking, black children do have somewhat higher rate of problems within the adoptive population as well as in the biological population. That does show up.
As a teacher and a mother, Stephanie knows some children struggle in school, but she sees the education system as a big part of the problem.
There's so many layers of, if you look at the curriculum, it's mostly white. If you look at books, they're mostly white. And all of these things just disenfranchise our kids of color year after year after year. And now having adopted black kids and having to pretty much fight for them so much to get them what they need in school has changed my lens completely.
Researcher Constance Lindsay says having a teacher of the same race can improve student outcomes. She was part of a team that analyzed the records of more than 100,000 black students in elementary and high schools. Those who had at least one black teacher had better results. Boys were significantly less likely to drop out of school, and both boys and girls were more likely to attend college. Lindsay says it's the role model effect.
So maybe if you're growing up in a home that doesn't have a college-educated black person and you're able to see one at school who's your teacher, that might signal to you that, hey, I can do this too. I actually have another study that shows that having a same-race teacher for black students decreases rates of discipline actions, and so you're less likely to get suspended or expelled if you have a black teacher, and so that might be related to how teachers think about misbehavior. So if you have a white teacher who isn't trained in cultural competency and how to work with diverse students, it might be harmful for students.
Zachary Morrison was adopted as a newborn by a white family in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He says he was often unfairly singled out at his overwhelmingly white high school.
I think everything that's happened to me at this school happened to me because I was black. A lot of people at this school had it out for me from the beginning. My principal was giving me a detention or something I didn't deserve. That made me angry. I did punch a wall and I did break the bone in my hand.
He says his peers were often insensitive too. His mother remembers the day when the quarterback on Zach's school football team sent a troubling text.
He posted a picture of Zach going into the locker room after practice completely drenched. And it had been a hot day, and after practice, they're all pretty sweaty, and it was a photo of him, and underneath it, it said, "This is Zach after a long day of picking cotton."
Zach's teammates laughed, and that upset him, though some of those same teammates helped elect Zach homecoming king in his junior year.
I believe that race was an issue for Zach when he was young, when he was a little boy. I think that it was especially difficult for him going to school and not having anyone that looked like him that he could reach out to.
He has been, from kindergarten through, the only Afro-American male in his entire class, all the way through.
It was hard. I think it affected me a little bit for a while, and then I think I just kind of got used to it.
Zach is now a third-year cadet at the Massachusetts Maritime Academy south of Boston. Of its 1,600 cadets, fewer than 10% come from racial or ethnic minority communities. Zach says this otherness has given him the incentive to accomplish his goals.
I think it motivated me more to prove people wrong and to show them that, you may be hit with like a little speed bump early in life, but it doesn't mean that, it's gonna turn your whole life around and you won't be able to succeed or be successful or be happy.
Stephanie hopes all her children will grow up to be strong, confident adults. She says they've flourished since moving from their Seattle neighborhood school to the Highline School District where she teaches, and where she says staff are trained to be sensitive to racial equity. Stephanie says even she needed to be sensitized.
I mean, the lessons I've learned as being a white mom and having black kids, how much institutionalized racism is in our school structure is absolutely phenomenal. And I never had to realize that before I had black kids. And yet this has been the truth for all black families as far back as we can remember. But because I'm white, I never had to look at that.